What's up, Attack MMA? I'm your host, Zach Weicker, and today we got a very special guest. He's a professional fighter with 7-2-1 record and will be fighting for the UFC at UFC Fight Night on February 3rd. Please welcome Landon Quiñones. Landon, how are we doing today?
Quiñones.
Quiñones, that's my bad. I knew that too. That's
It's all good.
okay, man. And I kind of like to start
It's
by
all
going
good.
through the past and how you got started in the sport. And on The Ultimate Fighter, you kind of went through your past and had mentioned how your friend showed you a video of Nick Diaz and MMA, and that's what inspired you to get into the sport. But do you think if your friend never showed you that video and never showed you MMA, you'd still be in the spot you are today?
It's a tough question, man. I have no idea, man, because I'm a firm believer in God and the universe, and everything happens for a reason. So I don't know what would have happened. I've dabbled in martial arts kind of throughout my life. I don't think I would be where I am now for sure, but I mean, it was just meant to happen that way. So I don't really like to question it too much. But I wasn't on the best path. I wasn't doing the best things. I didn't have the best life habits. I didn't have any path. I didn't have a desire to go to college or get a career. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So honestly, thank God I found it. So yeah, I'm not sure. None good. None good.
And you mentioned a little bit of your tough childhood there, and of course you mentioned on the show as well. And it's very amendable for you to open up about it. And a tough childhood could either make or break a man. So how would you say your tough childhood has shaped you into the individual you are today?
Well, hey man, you see, no, there. I had never met a really good fighter that can dig deep through the tough times that was spoon fed. You know what I mean? I feel like it shaped me. I had to kind of break a lot of cycles. I had to take accountability for my upbringing and break the dysfunctions I came up with. So I feel having to be forced into tough situations made me stronger, made me tougher, and allowed me to be able to persevere through everything from financial struggles to relationship struggles to hard days in the gym where I'm discouraged and feel like shit about myself. You know what I mean? Because those days happen. You know what I mean? Like you can't be fucking killing it every single round or having a great day every single day. But all the things that I've gone through in my life have kind of prepared me to be able to do things like that on a regular basis, and I feel like it's finally starting to pay off.
Definitely, man. And probably one of the first things that you've recognized that paid off was being invited to the Ultimate Fighter. So, of course, you had your ups and downs on the show, but how do you summarize your experience on the Ultimate Fighter?
The greatest worst experience of my life. It was. I felt like it was very difficult to deal with the way my personality is, being isolated, being in this hostile environment with all these people that I may have to fight. All the even when your own teammates are friends with the other team, and like it's hard to trust people, and it's just a rough environment. No phone, no TV, no music, no books. So it was very difficult to do, but I did learn to be more empathetic and understand other people's different personalities and where different people come from. Because on that show, it's great because you got guys we had Timur from Dagestan, we had Carlos, Jason, and Kurt from Louisiana. You had people from California. You had people from Ireland. You know what I mean? Like we had all type of cultures and upbringings in that house. You know what I mean? So I got to be able to mesh with different personalities and learn from even from the vets. Even though they were my competitors and like they were my ops in the show, I learned a lot from watching the way they carry themselves. I learned a lot from the way Conor carries himself. Um, uh, I kind of learned how to have greater motivations besides myself being on the show. Seeing Kurt Holloway with his family pictures all the time at every practice and weigh-ins, and just like I learned a lot about myself, man. Learning to embrace my emotions instead of kind of trying to shy away from them. Because everyone has what works for them when they go into a fight, right? Some people like to be super chill and usa. Some people like to be in the middle. Some people like to be super fired up. I'm one of those guys that I don't fight well when I'm super calm. You know what I mean? And I feel like I learned that about myself after my fight with Jason Knight, freezing up under that. I kind of downplayed the moment instead of embracing the moment. I let the moment be bigger than me, and I learned to never let that happen again. So I feel like obviously every fight is a different mindset, and every fight you got to lock in a little differently. But that was some of the things I took away from the show for sure.
That's excellent, man. And you mentioned that Jason Knight fight, and there's a lot going into that fight, of course, with Team McGregor not having any wins and Team Chandler close that sweep. So, would you say with all that going into the fight put a little extra pressure on you that you weren't used to?
Well, to be honest, that really doesn't matter because on TV and for the media and for you guys, like they like to make it seem like it's a team thing, but in our reality, we're all there for ourselves. You know what I mean? We built relationships with our teammates. We made friends out there, yeah, for sure. But at the end of the day, our fights, our wins only matter really to us. You know what I mean? It might matter to Connor. Connor's a great dude. It would have been cool to win for him. But in all reality, I'm there for my own journey. I'm there to make it to the UFC. I'm there to make it to the big show and put my life's work to the test and show out. And I don't feel like that really added any pressure. I felt like just the eerie environment. I was eating breakfast the morning of the fight with Jason Knight. Like, it was just weird to like turn that. I had a hard time flipping that violent switch. You know what I mean? And another thing too, I also went. I don't talk about this because it's not an excuse. Because by the time I got to the fight, I was healthy. But I went into tough very injured. I had a grade 2 MCL sprain, so training leading up to the fight was very limited. And training for a fight doesn't mean just making weight and looking good and being in good shape. Training for a fight means putting yourself in bad positions, getting comfortable with the impact of getting hit a lot. You know what I mean? Your eyes, your timing, and I feel like I just didn't have any of that going into that fight. So I was able to rehab and get my knee good enough to fight by the time I got there. But when we got there, I was just the environment and all the conditions mixed with the fact that I don't feel like I was really well trained for it. Not having my coaches, not having my corner. That's what makes the Ultimate Fighter so difficult. Like all these different factors. You know what I mean? And I'm sure I'm not the only one who's gone in with an injury. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that like that I couldn't have persevered or overcome it. You know what I mean? But like that's just the way it happened, and it definitely played a factor in my performance, and that's why the Ultimate Fighter is the toughest competition in sports. You know, that's what they call it, that for sure.
Yeah, for sure, man. And definitely a part that people don't realize is you're going with a whole new group of coaches, and you're not used to people. They don't know your style as well as your old coaches do. But you did have Conor McGregor as your coach, who probably the biggest name in the sport. So how's that like?
It was sick, man. He's a real cool dude. You know, he's definitely crazy, just like he is on TV. It's definitely not an act. He's really like that. He's a real funny dude. He's a very considerate person. He gave us all the tools to succeed. We had a lot of shit that Team Chandler didn't have. We got more gear than Team Chandler. We had a nutritionist. We had meals prepped for us. A chef to make us food. We had treatment like electrolyte drinks made for us before and after each practice. We had we just had unlimited access to Roddy and John Kavanaugh, and like Connor also not only did he help coach us, he also trained with us. So we got an idea to see how the most successful fighter in the history of our sport carries himself and gets to work and gets after it. You know what I mean? So it was a great experience, man. I took a lot from it. I took a lot from him. I took a lot from the experience, and I've definitely implemented a lot of things I actually learned out there in my game. You know, but like I said, 4, 5, 6 weeks is not enough time for a coach to really know you, and it's not. And having never had them corner me in any fight, it's not really enough time to be able to recognize their voice when the chaos is going on. So yeah, it definitely makes a difference.
Yeah, man. And on McGregor, he did coach you, but there's sometimes where we saw he also hung out with you guys. So how's it like to be able to like to talk to Connor with not fight related stuff? And I remember the episode with your guys' haircut at the house. So how's it like to hang out with McGregor?
Man, he was partying, him and Coach Phil. Phil is his boxing coach, Phil Sutcliffe, and they came to the house and they were wilding out. Like Team Chandler guys were trying to sleep. They had weigh-ins the next day, and he was just fucking flipping shit in the basement, man. He's super cool. He was having fun with everybody. Unfortunately, I was also weighing in, or I think I kind of wanted to stay in routine, so I ended up going to sleep. But he was a lot of fun, man. And one of the things that is great to see is that a guy that's such a larger than life figure for all these fans and stuff, we got to see how human and like normal of a person he is, and how good of a dude he actually is. So that was cool to see, like this. You know what I mean? It's like when you go high level guys like that, or you talk to somebody super famous and they're humble and they're chill and they talk to you like a normal person, like, oh, this person is just like me. You know what I mean? Like it shows you how possible and capable you are of reaching certain heights. You know? So yeah, it was pretty cool to be able to experience that and hear his side of things, and talk to him and get to know him a little bit.
Definitely, man. And that fight with Chandler is projected to be in June. So how do you see that fight panning out?
I think he's gonna spark Chandler. You know, I think it's another Eddie McGregor fight. You know, Chandler does have a chance. I'm not saying Chandler's not a good fighter. I don't think Chandler's that skilled of a fighter or has a great IQ, but he's a top 5% athlete in the world. He has ridiculous power, and you can't deny his heart and toughness. You know what I mean? And he gets after it. He'll go after you. He doesn't freeze up. He gets to work, and it's kill or be killed for him. So that's his shot in fighting. Sometimes the more skilled guy doesn't always win. I feel win, lose, or draw. Connor's still the better fighter, but it doesn't really matter who's the better fighter. It matters who's the better fighter in those split seconds or those 15 minutes, you know, or in this case, probably 25 minutes. So I think Connor gets it done within 2 rounds, but obviously, like Chandler definitely does have a chance, and I'm pulling for Connor 100%.
Yeah, I think no matter what, it'll be a spectacle. And to go back to you first for the rest of it, of course, you mentioned that what makes you so dangerous is your mental and your composure. So where did you say that strong mentality and composure stemmed from?
Well, that was me bullshitting on the Ultimate Fighter. I said I was gonna do a lot of shit, and they didn't do shit that I said I was gonna say. So, in all reality, I don't want to be composed anymore. I want to feel scared. I want to feel nervous. I want to feel threatened because I feel like I fight my best when my back's against the wall. I don't fight my best when I'm calm and cool and collected because that's not what fighting is. Fighting is chaos. Fighting can be crazy. Now it's got to be controlled chaos. You got to be like John Jones, butterflies in formation. You know what I mean? Embrace the struggle, embrace the chaos, embrace that scared feeling. I feel like that's what makes me dangerous when I do it. So my mindset's changed a lot since then. Composure is something I have experience, and when the lights turn on, I will 99% of the time show up. I'm not going to say 100 because I thought I was ready, man. I was actually talking to a buddy of mine the other day, and he's a pro, but he's a lower level pro, a little, or not, I wouldn't say lower level, just less experience, less fights than me. And he kind of looks up to me. He was asking me, he's like, "Do you ever feel like you have this shit figured out?" And I'm like, "That's a great question, brother, because in all reality, you never have this figured out. Martial arts and fighting is a never-ending journey. It's something that I learned something about myself new every single fight, whether it be mental, whether it be physical, whether it be a technical aspect. And obviously, the mental is always growing. And as the deeper you get, the more the pressure gets, and the bigger you get, the harder it gets, and the more different locking it is. You know what I mean? So I feel like it's a weapon for sure, but I feel like I like being fired up now at this point. I like just let it take over. Let the moment take over. The moment is not bigger than me. I control the moment.
That's a great way to look at it. And to go to your fight, you'll be fighting Marquel Mederos. And he's a new competitor in the UFC. So what are your thoughts on your opponents and what do you like about his fighting style and his strengths?
I think he's good, man. He's got a lot. He's got good speed. He's got pretty good athleticism. He's slick. He's got really good low kicks. The thing that separates us, one, is obviously the experience. I fought a lot higher level competition. I don't feel like he's ever been in a fight like that. You know what I mean? Like, he's won fights, he's done well, but he's never been tested. His chin's never been checked, his heart's never been tested. He's never been the nail in any of his fights. Obviously you can attribute that to his skills. Everyone who's in the UFC is good. Everyone is at the level to where they're the best in their region, they're the best in their area. They're one of the best guys that are not signed to the big show. So he definitely earned his spot. He has good management. He has a great team at Factory X. But like I said, I feel like I got another level of dog in me. I feel like I'm the only real striker he's ever fought. Everyone he's fought are a bunch of wrestlers or guys that are brawlers and sloppy technique, guys that are very reactive to all the things he does. And I'm gonna step in. I'm gonna get right in his face, and I'm gonna get after it. I'm not scared of what he has, and I've been training well for it. I'm well prepared. We got a good plan, and I can't wait to move forward with it, man. I think he's a good fighter. I cheer for him in the future, but he ain't gonna do it against me. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, and with his strengths and considerations, stylistically, how are you looking at this fight?
I see it mainly going on the feet, man, for sure. It's definitely a striking battle. That's what the UFC knows what they're doing. They matched it up. But in all reality, they sent this opponent to my manager, and the manager showed it. My manager showed it to all his lightweights, and I was the first one to jump at it. You know what I mean? It wasn't like he didn't call me out. I don't want to say I called him out, but I wanted to get a fight ASAP, and this is an opportunity that presented itself, and I jumped on it right away. I wanted to get a fight. After that fight, I wanted to jump right back in and get it in September, but December, and that wasn't really an option. So I was just trying to get the nearest thing, make some money, get my career going. I don't want to sit on the shelf and be like, oh, I'm in the UFC and just ride that wave. No, I'm trying to get busy because I don't think that I'm just a guy that's just here to be in the UFC. I think I'm a legit contender in this division, and I'm trying to prove it any chance I can get. So, yep, it all starts with Markel.
Sure, man. And something unfortunate is a lot of times the UFC has been cutting fighters that go 0-2 into promotion. Now, of course, every fight is important, and of course, every fight you want to win. But does this fight feel like a must-win compared to any other fights you've had in the past?
I've definitely thought of that. It's crossed my mind. I'd be a liar if I didn't say it crossed. If I said it didn't cross my mind. But in all reality, it doesn't matter, man. This whole game is pressure. Regardless of whether you're undefeated in the UFC, like every fight is a lot of pressure. Every fight is very scary. Every fight, people have crazy expectations on you, your friends, your family, your coaches, other teams. You know what I mean? And I know he's feeling the same way. He doesn't want to go in his UFC debut and get knocked out or get or lose and have his back against the wall next fight. The pressure's the same on him. He might get another fight, but either way, it doesn't really matter. You know what I mean? Like, this is the biggest fight of both our lives. I know I had a really entertaining debut, but in all reality, it's still an L. So this is just as important to me, actually more important to me than I know it is for him. So I've come from nothing. I've worked so hard to get to this point, and I'm not going to let no one take food off my plate. So yeah.
Yeah. And you mentioned that first fight a bit, and Was in your disadvantage for that fight, it was that it was short notice. So do you feel more prepared for this fight as you have a full training camp?
Absolutely, but a full training camp is hard. You know what I mean? Like I'm someone that gets after it a lot. I push the pace. You know what I mean? I go hard, so I feel like I've been training real hard. I kind of had to ease it down the last like week and a half. Last week I was supposed to be deloading and I didn't really have a great deload. And then I sparred on Saturday and I had a horrible session. So, but it wasn't because of like my sharpness, my eyes. I just felt like I was super fatigued because that's what happens when you're in training camp, man. Sometimes you're broken down. So I took the last few days to kind of chill out. Took Sunday off. Took most of Monday off. I just did some bag work and got a little sweat. Yesterday I sparred really hard, but I took the rest of the day off. Usually I do two or three sessions in a day. I just did my sparring. Today I had my court, so I missed practice in the morning, but I will have my strength and conditioning, and then I also will have my striking technique stuff tonight, which will be like about a 2-hour session. So I'm getting it in, man. I've been working my ass off. I've been sparring twice a week. I've been getting a lot of rounds, a lot of practices. I've been doing a big focus on strength and conditioning to build my power up because I feel like that was a big problem last fight. Not because obviously not having a camp is a factor, but I didn't like the way my power was fading as the fight went on. You know what I mean? I feel like I was able to keep moving my feet, keep my speed, and keep my volume, but my power, I didn't have the power to back him up after a while. So that's something I've been working a lot in this off season and during this camp as well.
Yeah, man. And right there's a few things you mentioned that you want to improve on. But is there anything else that you learned from the fight against Nasrat at UFC 293?
Yeah, man. At that level, I know I was in good shape going into the fight because I did train. I hadn't been training a lot. I just hadn't been training for a fight. You know what I mean? I'm always someone that, regardless of whether I'm in camp or out of camp, I'm always training every day. Even if I'm not training, like I'm in a camp like super intense and doing like all these specific necessary sessions. Like I'm still going to jujitsu class every day, or I'm going to or I'll do like practice in the morning and I'll go hit the bag. I'm always doing stuff. You know what I mean? I was still sparring once a week. But when you're at this level, when you're fighting guys like Nasrat has 13 UFC fights, which was more UFC fights than I have total fights. So when you fight guys like that, you can be in good shape, but you got to be prepared specifically for those guys, you know. So I didn't take that lightly, and I brought that mentality into this preparation. And I know this is his first fight in the UFC, but he's at this point he is a UFC fighter. So I have to be prepared for him, regardless of the skill level, because one slip up, one loss of focus, one mishap, and you waking up wondering what happened. So I'm super focused and I'm ready, and I'm not taking it lightly.
Yeah, man. And even though you did lose, you still made your UFC debut, which is probably something you dreamed of your whole life. So how's it like to make your UFC debut and make that walk to the octagon?
Man, to be honest, after Tough was very eerie and scary and like a weird feeling and just very quiet. And then I went from being in front of no fans to in front of 21,000 fans. So when I went out there, I realized how much better I am in that chaotic environment. When I heard that crowd roar and I walked out with that camera and that flashing light on me, man, I'm not gonna lie, I felt right at home. I loved it. I enjoyed it. The moment didn't feel bigger than me, and I was just ready to get into a scrap. So I loved it, man. It was like one of the most enjoyable, surreal experiences of my life, and it's just an addiction, man. And I just can't wait to do it again. I feel like I belong in the UFC. I don't want to be anywhere else, and I'm happy to where I've gotten. But it's not about just getting there; it's about staying there. So I got a point to prove February 3rd.
Yeah. And unfortunately, your next fight won't be in front of a large crowd as it will be back in the Apex. So does that disappoint you?
A little bit, but at the end of the day, a fight's a fight. And like I said, I've conquered those demons. I've realized what I need to do to get myself in the right mindset to perform well. And it's still the UFC, man. And in a perfect world, I'd like to take no damage, hopefully get a finish, and maybe get on that Miami card if I could. That'd be sick. There's a fight at home in front of my home fans, home people. That'd be amazing. But I want to get to the big crowds. I want to get the pay-per-view cards. But in all reality, when you're a UFC newcomer, you got to earn it, man. You got to do what the UFC tells you, and you got to get after it. And you prove it by winning fights and putting on good performances. So I plan on doing that.
Yeah. And you mentioned Miami right there. Is there any other venues or locations you'd like to fight at?
Man, there's a few places in as a fighter that you always dream of fighting, right? Obviously, Brazil will be an awesome place to fight. The O2 in London would be a sick place to fight. One day I would love to fight in Japan. Japan would be an awesome place to fight. Um, uh, Damn, I already fought in Australia. Australia was awesome. Obviously, I want to fight in the T-Mobile Arena in Vegas, MSG. Like, there's a couple places that I would really like to go perform. Canada seems like a dope place to go to. Mexico City has pretty wild events. Yeah, man, the list goes on. But I think my favorite, one of the places I really want to fight is probably Brazil. But ain't nothing gonna ever top Miami because that's home, you know.
Definitely, man. And those are some dream venues. But is there any dream fights you'd like to have in your tenure with the UFC?
Uh, man, obviously whoever the champ is, man, whoever the champ is at the time. I don't think Islam's gonna be the champ by the time I get to that level. But if he is, then he better watch out.
For sure, man. And you made the move back to MMA Science Academy, so that's a huge move. So, what made you decide that you want to go back there?
Man, training with Conor was a big thing. I felt like when I got triangled like that, I felt like there was so many things I was lacking in my training when I was training at Killcliff. Not that they're a bad team; they have great coaches, they have a great staff, I had great teammates, high level bodies to train with. It was awesome, right? But I felt like I needed to slow down my training and work the technical aspects because I feel like for a guy that's at the level I'm at, I was missing so many things and I had so many holes in my game. And I feel like being on tough, not only in the fight that was exposed, getting triangle. Like, why is it that I've been training for 11 years and I couldn't even defend a triangle, regardless of how fucked up my training was, regardless of how my instincts were off? Like, why the hell am I just sitting my head into a triangle? I'm not posturing. I'm not sitting him in my lap. I'm not. It's like my technique was lacking. You know what I mean? Like, it's like I just put myself in bad positions. My concepts were off. So I'm watching the way Connor trains and watching the way his Kavanaugh teaches and seeing the way everything's in a system. I feel like I needed training more similar to that to slow it down. And my practices nowadays are actually a lot longer. But and I train probably more than I did at Killcliff, but the intensity fluctuates a little bit differently. So it's not like I'm redlining or going just training super hard and recklessly every day. Everything is with a purpose, and everything has very specific direction on what I want to do. You know what I mean? So instead of just randomly going in there and getting after it, I'm actually getting good at things one at a time. You know what I mean? And I can see a huge improvement in the way I grapple, a huge improvement in my striking because I drill and I drill and I drill and I do the tedious things that people don't want to do. You know, so I felt like just in a smaller environment too, man. When you're in this big place of 75, 80 fighters and you have three coaches, like who's really going to watch you? Who's going to hold you accountable? You have this big room of everybody sparring and you switch partners 6 times and like you're going hard as fuck for like 3, 4, and then you're talking to your teammate, oh, let's rest, let's rest. When you're sparring with like the same 2, 3 guys and you have maybe like 10 people in the room and three coaches watching 10 people, everyone gets to look, everyone is held accountable, and you actually have to push a lot harder because everyone's watching you. You also are training with these guys every day, so they start to figure you out. So as they figure you out, you have to learn to evolve to beat them at what they're doing to you now. So I feel like it's not that a big gym is not a good thing to have, because I feel like once in a while you need to test yourself, you need the bodies like that. But as long as you got looks, good partners, and people that keep you safe and good coaching, you can go very far. And Connor showed he can do it out of a shack in Dublin, I can do it out of a beautiful gym in Sunrise like MMA Science Academy.
For sure, man. And how do you describe your relationships with your coaches and training partners?
Man, my coach Roger Crawl is like a dad to me. You know what I mean? I never had a father figure growing up, and I didn't really have a lot of good influences. So when I found martial arts, my first coach was Scott McAdams. So rest in peace to him. He passed away a couple years back, and he came from MMA Science Academy, which was at one point ATT Sunrise, American Top Team Sunrise, which was the first American top team outside of the headquarters. But eventually, they like this last year, we rebranded to MMA Science Academy because my coach decided to break off from American Top Team after like 15 years with them. Yeah, and then yeah, I just felt like I had no direction, like I didn't have good influences. So watching him and the way he carried himself, he was someone I looked up to, and I just followed his lead, man. And we've been to so many battles together, and our relationship's grown over the years. He's become like a father figure. He gives me advice not only in fighting and martial arts, but in life as well. Whether it be the way I invest my money, the way I take jobs, like the things I prioritize, my relationships, just so many things I can ask him, and I feel like he always has the right answer to me and puts me in the right direction. Also, another one of my coaches, he's been coaching me for the last year and a half, is Troy Worthen. Young coach, he's 30 years old. He actually fought for one championship. His contract's going to be expired soon. Hopefully, he can get fighting again. But he's kind of like taking that James Krause approach. He's a young coach, willing to still looking to fight himself. But he's a nerd, man. Like he's become kind of like I don't. He's not that much older than me, but kind of like an older brother. You know what I mean? Like we hang out, we talk shit, we brainstorm on technique, and he's always showing me new things and always putting the time into me. And he's constantly learning, constantly studying. He's one of those people, he definitely trains more than me. Like, I get burnt out mentally. Sometimes, like, I'll be training every day, and I'm just like, fuck, I don't want to be here. This dude, his mind is always going. I think, like, he's a very smart mind in the sport. So him mixed with Roger has been, like, one of the best things that could ever happen to me, because I have two coaches that are great in their respective areas. One for the grappling, whether it be wrestling and jiu-jitsu and everything, like everything with cage work, stuff like that. Then my head coach Roger, who's pretty much taught me all my striking from day one. It's been real good. Also, I have my boxing coach George Kravitz, a very old school Philly guy. Helps me get my jab going, helps me get my feints going. I got a good thing going on, man, and my teammates are great. I don't have a huge team. We have a lot of little guys in the room, but I've had a few solid training partners. My boy John Marquez, my boy Juan Galarza, who was a Silver Fox Jiu-Jitsu black belt from up in New York. Yeah, man, I got a lot of people to thank, man, but I'd be here all day. Even though it's not too big of a team, it's like I just don't over talk about it, But I'm very thankful for them. I feel like I've had probably the best camp I've had ever. It's been fucking hard as hell, but preparation wise, skill wise, game plan wise, it's been super on point, and I can't wait to show the results February 3rd.
That's excellent, man. And my final question for you is, now we're in the year 2024. What are some of your goals for your inside and outside of the cage?
My goal is to hopefully make enough money to get my own place. I still have roommates and stuff, but I love to get my own place. I love to pay off my car. I love to be able to do a bunch of things, man. Pay off some debts, but number one, get through this first contract. By the end of the year, I want to have like hopefully three fights by the end of the year. Once you're in the UFC, things do slow down a little bit. It's just pretty much what's available. I want to get fights in, get my first contract out of the way, and hopefully by the beginning of the next year, start thinking about breaking into that top 15. So, yeah, man.
That's amazing, man. And is there anything you want to shout out, anything you want to plug before you head out of here?
Yeah, man. Shout out to my coach Roger Crawl, my other coach for Worthing MMA Science Academy, my family, and I just want to thank God for all the opportunity I have. Whether it be when things are going bad or things are going good, God has a plan for me, and I've always, and my faith has become a lot stronger over this last year, and I'm just grateful for everything that's going on in my life. I'm grateful for you to be talking to me. I'm grateful for the UFC. I'm grateful for my opponent, and I can't wait to show out February 3rd.
Landon, it's been more than a pleasure having you on. Thank you, my friend. I wish you the best luck in your upcoming fight. Folks, that'll be all for today. Until next time.